Hello everyone, it's been a while and welcome back. I think this is my first video in like 7 months and a lot has happened since then. So in this one, it's a quick recap of the Fred Whitton 2026. So I signed up for this ages ago, whenever it was, last summer, I committed to it. But yeah, a lot has happened since then, and to be honest, this was a really tough race. It was much harder than I thought it was going to be. So for those of you who don't know, the Fred Whitton is pretty much the hardest sportive in England. It's got some really steep hills. We're not talking like 15%, we're talking like 30. That's how ridiculous it is. Anyway, let me take you through how it was on the day. So this is the start line. There are loads and loads of people. I decided not to go out really early because I didn't fancy joining the huge crowds. I left about 7. The first people left around 6, so it was pretty quiet by the time I started, which was nice. The route this year had changed a bit. Instead of going up Kirkstone Pass, you go up the Struggle, which is a much steeper hill. This one has max gradients of around 20, which is pretty intense when it's only like 5 minutes into the ride. Going up the Struggle, I actually felt quite good. It was really cold in the morning, about 2 degrees, and I decided not to wear any sort of jacket. I had the thinnest jersey I had on because the weather forecast for the rest of the day was quite warm. So going up the Struggle was quite nice because it warmed me up. When I got to the base of the climb, I was absolutely freezing, but by the time I got halfway up, I was quite nice and toasty. So going up the Struggle, I actually felt quite good. My legs felt quite strong, which was pretty much the only time the entire day where they felt that good. So the Struggle has some pretty intense 20% gradients, so it's a good time for me to talk about my gearing. My front chainring is 36 teeth and the biggest cassette at the back is 44. So I have a sub 1:1 ratio, which is really good for climbing. That meant I could pretty much spin up this hill. Although it does get so steep that at points I did have to get out of the saddle. So when I first signed up for the Fred Whitton, I had some ridiculous aim of going sub 7, which I knew was not going to happen come race day for reasons which I'll explain later. So my new goal for the day was just to get around the course without stopping to push my bike. And as you'll see later, that did not happen. So you reach the top of the Struggle and loads of people here out cheering you. It definitely gives you a big boost. After this, you come down a nice descent into some rollers and you've got a bit of a respite before the next one. To be honest, there's not really much for the next 2-3 hours. No major climbs. There's a few small ones, but nothing worth mentioning. It is all just small climbs that build up fatigue in your legs. The next really challenging climb was Honister. This comes after about 60k. And getting to the base of Honister, I didn't feel too bad. I knew that this would be probably about the same difficulty as the Struggle, but when I got to the base, when it ramps up, it hits like 20% straight away. I was spinning away pretty happily, and then I tried to get out of the saddle and my legs just cramped up instantly. Oh. Oh. Cramping. Oh. I don't know why this happened. I didn't feel particularly bad at this point, but something just went wrong with my legs and I just cramped. I don't think it was my fueling or anything like that because I was drinking about 90 grams of carbohydrates an hour just in the bottle, and I had electrolytes in them as well. So I really don't know why I was cramping. I do have some ideas, but I'll get into them at the end. So yeah, getting to Honister and just being crushed by this steepness right at the beginning. The climb hadn't even really started, but the cramps were just so bad that I just had to get off and basically push. When it's this steep, there's no chance you're getting back on, so it was pretty much over for that climb at that point. Yeah, so Honister pretty much broke me, and to be honest, I was mentally done by that point. 60 kilometers in and there's still 120 kilometers to go. So I'm about a third of the way around and my leg's just done already. It's really weird because my heart rate wasn't particularly high, but the legs just went. So no idea. Eventually I did get to the top of Honister and I felt really bad by the top. Luckily there was a little rest stop, so I refilled my bottles, went to the loo and carried on. The next one was Newlands. My legs did feel a bit better here, but still not great. I managed to just like keep spinning up this one because it wasn't as steep. The best bit about this one was the views you get. To be honest, the whole day the views were fantastic. So getting to the top of Newlands was fine. Then we had Windlatter. This is where I really knew it was going to be a long day. Windlatter wasn't even that steep. I had to keep my power ridiculously low here. You know when you can feel the beginning of a cramp starting and you just have to slow down to stop it from coming? That was me the whole way up Windlatter. So to put it into perspective, up Newlands I did about 300 watts and I felt rubbish. but going up Windlatter, I had to do about 240 just to stop myself from cramping. After Windlatter, there was the Team 13 water stop, which was very helpful. Good on for these guys for keeping us all going. Very thankful for them. I quickly refilled up my bottles and carried on. So after Windlatter, the next big one is Hardknott Pass. That is a long way after Windlatter, and there's a few much smaller climbs in between. But these climbs were not steep at all. There was Coldfell, which really didn't have any particularly steep points in it, but I was still cramping pretty much all the time. My legs just couldn't put any power out whatsoever. On Coldfell, I only averaged 200 watts, which is really, really low for me. There was definitely something wrong with my legs, but I just couldn't figure out what it was. Right, so the main event of the day was coming up. There was one more feed stop before hitting up Hardnose and Rhino's Pass. And to be honest, I knew before I even got there that I would not be able to climb Hardknott Pass. By this point in the day, you've got about 100 miles in the legs and you're just wanting to get home. And then in the distance, you see this ridiculously steep wall. I was not mentally prepared for this. This is beyond the steep, as in, I don't know how people climb this. It is just ridiculous. I had the easiest gearing of pretty much anyone I saw, but I still was grinding away. And I tried my best for the first 5 minutes of the climb, but it broke me so quickly. Even coming into this fresh, I don't think I'd be able to do it. So yeah, I ended up pushing my bike up 90% of Hardknott Pass, and yeah, pretty much most other people did. If you can make it up this climb, you have my full respect, because it is something else. So I filmed all the way up to the top of Hardnose, and then my camera battery was pretty much dead. So I decided to stop filming, so that way I could save some battery for the finish line. Let me talk about the descents. These are some horrible downhills. They are actually terrifying. The road quality is not nice. There are bumps everywhere, and it's just switchback after switchback. And it's so steep that you really do need to be riding your brakes the entire way, because if you let your brakes out fully, you just gain momentum almost instantly. And I did see one person came down, going down Rhino's Pass, and I hope they were okay. But it is just so dangerous going down here. You need to be so careful. Some people were absolutely bombing it. I don't know why you would want to do that, because at the end of the day, it's just a bike ride. So yeah, you won't see me risking my life to get down here like 5 minutes faster. Yeah, that was not nice. Anyway, Rhinos, again, steep, had to push the bike up. No footage of that. You don't need to see me push my bike any more than you already have. And then after Rhinos, that was pretty much it. There was one more climb, which was steep, and again, I had to push my bike. I think over the course of the day, I pushed my bike like 10 times maybe. That's how bad it was. But in the end, I got over this last climb and just had a nice chill ride back into town. It's really annoying because that final push back, my legs started feeling all right. I don't know whether there was a problem with my fueling or something like that, but throughout the majority of the day, I felt rubbish. The only times I felt good were the struggle and the final half an hour. Maybe it's just a mental thing. Knowing you're almost home, you can push a bit more. But more likely it's just the cadence that you can easily spin your power at 90 RPM, but when you're having to do it at like 45, your legs have nothing. It really is just about the strength. Anyway, I came in with a chip time of 8 hours 56 and then a moving time of 8 hours 20. So a lot slower than the 7-hour goal I set myself. But to be honest, like I said, I knew I wouldn't be achieving that anyway. So overall, I'm pretty happy I got around, because by the time I got to Honister, I was thinking this is going to be the longest day on a bike ever, and it almost was, but I'm just happy I got around because this course is actually ridiculous. Way, way harder than I thought it would be. Big respect to anyone who does it, because this is one of those things that you can easily not finish this. There's so many big climbs and you could really just bonk and not make it to the end before the cutoff. So anyone who finishes this, you've done really well. I know you see those videos of people speeding around and thinking, how hard could it be? Yeah, it really is that hard. Like, I like to think I'm a pretty strong cyclist, but you're not strong when it hits 33%, basically. Anyway, that's how the day went. I'm going to tell you all my excuses now as to why I didn't do as well as I wanted. And as far as excuses go, I don't think they're too bad. So when I signed up for this, I was pretty happy. I had lots of free time to train, all those good things. But basically the month after signing up for it, my fiance and I decided we were going to adopt a little girl. So basically I became a dad, and now my priorities are different. I can't spend like all day riding my bike, which is, you know, it's a shame, but there's other things I need to do. But I did try to stay consistent during all this time. I managed to get on the bike maybe 4 times or 5 times a week. But the problem is these were short sessions, normally like an hour or 2. To be honest, I very rarely got 2 hours. It was mostly an hour to 90 minutes max. I think the longest ride I did coming into this was 2 hours. And that is just not enough when you're training for a 9-hour bike ride. But to be honest, during this big change in my family circumstances, I did manage to sort of maintain my fitness, which isn't too bad. It would have been really easy for me to give up and stop cycling at all, but I managed to get on the bike a few times at least. I managed to lose a little bit of weight. When I started doing this, I was around 90 kilograms. At the moment, I'm sitting at around 88. The power, the FTP, says it's around 300, which is pretty similar to where I started. But the problem is I used to be able to do that quite a long way into a long ride. But the thing is, if you don't do those long rides in training, you don't have any durability. I used to be quite strong hours into a ride, but as you saw, I just wasn't. So yeah, it's important to get those long rides under your belt. So moving forward, next year I'm probably going to volunteer for the Fred Whitton. There were so many people on the course encouraging you, helping run the event. And if you do that, you get a guaranteed entry for the year after. So I'm going to be back, not next year, in 2028, and that is going to be my goal. Give myself 2 years to sort myself out and actually go sub 7. I think I should be able to do that. It's a long time, and to be honest, I think the most difficult part of my family circumstances has passed now. It was just the initial period, but now our little one has settled in. So hopefully now I'll be able to get a bit more time on the bike. And I've bought a bike trailer, which means I can pull her along, which should be quite helpful. To be honest, I live in the flattest part of England, so having the additional like 30 kilograms on the back of the bike will make some of the tiny little hills around here more challenging. So it might be good training just pulling her up all the hills around. All right, so moving forward with the channel, I know I didn't post much during this time. I am going to try and get back into it. The main problem is editing just takes such a long time. Even just a video like this, I've got to sit down for like 3-4 hours, and then you get into being a perfectionist, which makes it take even longer, which I'm definitely not going to do for this video. So if it looks a bit rushed and rubbish, that's because I simply don't have the time. I just wanted to get something out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to all the OGs who have been here since the beginning. It feels a bit weird actually, because when I started this channel, I was a single, lonely guy living in China, doing my own weird thing. And now I'm back in England with a fiance and a daughter. So yeah, thank you everyone who watches. It keeps me motivated and I really appreciate it all. So yeah, I'll try and get more videos out. No guarantees, but I will really try. All right, that's it. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to subscribe, please do. Also, if you think you're a good cyclist, sign up for the Fred Whitton and it will just ruin you. All right, peace out. See you next time.